Better you're on.
Okay.
From my side, I have radically redesigned the platform MCP tooling to accommodate the changes we discussed. I can go into that. There's been some. I missed a significant chunk of the update from OpenAI, and I think there's some pieces in there that warrant further discussion.
Hmm.
And I wanted to talk about what are we building the platform for? Because I can't help looking at that Open Router leaderboard and being like, we're technically on there right now, but we just haven't, but we're stealthy. So I'm like, who are we building it for? Who do we want to attract? What's the point? All that stuff. So that's from my
Hmm.
side.
Okay, from my side, I want to give the experience of using one agent to
Oh,
build
yeah.
another, the note-taking one, which you know about. Um, I have managed to skim watch that link
Yep.
where Sam and Jacob gave actually the most useful update I think they've done in a long
Ever,
time.
right? Ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's proper. And look at the implications of that, especially the implications of what they were saying about becoming a platform, which we're kind of thinking they're a platform, but if they're going to be a platform, are we going to be wiped out, or are we going to be able to augment that and ride it?
Yeah. Like, do we just look like a layer above their platform or what, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah,
questions going on there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. All
And
right.
they
What do you?
also they haven't done they haven't presented what the platform is. They're just saying they've got a platform. Of course, they're going to have a platform
Yeah.
strategy. Everyone loves to own a
Everyone
platform.
loves that. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to
So I think
do it
maybe the
for
best
developers.
way to start is for me to go through how I've changed the function calls in the platform so that when you show me the experience of agent to agent, at least it's you'll probably have questions and problems, and hopefully they've been met or addressed by some of the protocol changes I'm proposing.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
All right. Okay, can you read the screen? Can you read the screen?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said when you're registering. Yes, I can read the screen. Yeah.
Okay. So I have made a fundamental change. I think that services was wrong. It was actually images because what I think you're really asking for from images is to say, give me the template of an agent that solves this problem so that I can boot it into a live agent to service my needs.
Yes.
Right? I don't think you're really saying I want to know about an already running agent so that I can
Oh,
talk to it.
yeah. I see the naming problem there. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's like a VM image that I
Yeah,
can call upon. I don't care how it works,
right,
but it does what I want to do. Let's
right.
get a running instance.
Now, if you really do have some need of having a singleton or a something that everyone needs to talk to the same thing, I believe that that can still be met by booting these images, but you could boot like 20 images that were configured to all point at one server. So you, the consumer, would still consume it like you boot the image and then you talk to it, and it would just be relaying through to the singleton this long lived thing, which I can't think of a reason why you'd need that pattern, but I just wanted to make sure that it could be achieved in some way because our model seems to be we boot these VMs like the nothing. Like we just like you
Hmm.
just want to have a chat, you like boot a VM. Like it's hard for me to let go of a VM not being precious, but when I think about how little it costs and how scalable it makes the design, uh, I think it's the right way. I just got to shake the history, the historical tendency to be like, surely we could reuse that VM. But it doesn't matter
Um,
really.
no, I think you're on the right track. So let's, and you're right to call out the use of the word service. by um, service, without taking into account what we were saying previously about service, a service I would expect is something that I can call on to do something. It doesn't hold any state. I don't expect it. I say, um, talk to this thermometer and give me the temperature. That's a service, right? Um, but I don't want to care how it gets that temperature. There is a difference between that and having a long-lived thing, which is an instantiation of, what was the word that you used? Your
An
preferred word?
image.
An image, and the image is very closely aligned to VMs, and so people
Yeah.
understand that. I think so. It's
That's
like
the language you and I had agreed on for what an image looks like, an agent looks like
right,
when it's being shipped or when it's like being approved or stamped or readied in some way, and you're like,
yeah. Well, yes, or pre-worked on. It doesn't even need to be
yeah,
approved. It could be
yeah,
funky as hell.
yeah.
But
It's just in some state that you can now boot arbitrarily many agents all off that same thing.
so, question is, a service basically an NCP that you just trust or not. You just ask it a question and it
A
comes back with an
service or an
answer.
image.
Service. An image would be something else, and that I could spin it up and point
So
it at
what's this?
any
What's a
repo.
service now?
A service is, for example, asking for a temperature of something, or asking for the weather.
Like
You don't really
hitting
care.
an API endpoint sort of thing.
Yeah, sounds yeah, it sounds a lot like an NCP,
I
doesn't it?
don't think that. Um, so how agents are very universal, right? Like they boot, and you can run a web server, you can run a web page, you can run a VoIP application, you can run. Uh, you may find yourself booting into hardware that's connected to the temperature sensor. So I wouldn't call that a service. It's more like that's just some hardware that the agent was able to access because you booted it on a host that either had the hardware plugged into it, or if it was done by API, you booted an agent from an image that knew how to make the API calls in and out to receive that data.
Okay, but do you want to uh, the details of how to do that in the model we just gave needs to be inside of the agent some way. But what I'd prefer is the agents be able to search a list of
All right, why
temperature
don't you let me?
sensors.
Why don't you just? I mean, I was into function number one there of about 20. So why don't you let me like
All right.
roll through
Uh,
the rest of them?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
okay.
all right, so
My if there's 20, my RAM might get filled up, so I might need to ask questions, but I'll try and shut up. Okay,
okay,
go for it.
that's cool. So let's just further deeper dive into images till later, so I can get through the agent changes.
Mm,
We had discussed splitting out agent create into create with instructions and create with agent MD so that we didn't get confused there.
yeah.
Yeah, so what I think is actually the right way to go is, and we'd also had this thing of agent kinds, which was like, I had like a booting an MCP inspector or booting just a plain command prompt or booting codecs. And then it turns out that the only thing we ever wanted to use was booting codecs. So it seemed a bit dumb to have kinds. So instead, I think that agent create should only ever take an image ID. And so we would have some defaults like the raw vanilla stock standard codecs image, which is very simple. And then you would boot the agent from that and only from that. And then I would make it a dynamic exercise where you can go agent set system prompt. I know that we had I had vigorously not wanted to modify the system prompt while the thing was running, but then um, I realized we had to do multi-threading or concurrent conversations. And because when you have a concurrent conversation with one agent, each conversation is the opportunity for it to reload its system prompt. And so, in general, what I thought the agent create classes of function were really for was for the purposes of experimentation and modification. And so that's why I decided to make these things so that you boot from an image or from vanilla, and then you can modify the sysprompt, play with it, modify the sysprompt, play with it, keep on going, and then you go agent register image. And that takes the agent that you've been working on and turns it into an image that can be loaded by others.
Right. So again, we've been talking about the last couple of calls, the two kind of modes. One is working on an agent
Yeah,
in order to turn it into an image.
yeah.
The second is an image and the boot process.
Building an agent versus consuming an agent.
Yeah. And are you saying that we should be able to alter the sysprompt of take an image, boot it,
Yeah,
it's running, and we
yeah,
can now change the sysprompt?
totally.
That seems that seems very adding a lot of complexity there. As in, what the hell just happened? I just told it, to be that.
Right, but when you're in that mode, you're in the development investigative mode. You are building, you are experimenting. When
All
you're
right, okay.
when you're done, when you're done with it, you just call register image, and that takes a snapshot of the repos that it's got, the instructions that it's got, which might be nothing, the the agent's MD file that it's got, which might be nothing, and registers it as a name, as an image that can be booted with agent create.
Right. So I could take an image, boot that image, and then I'd either be working with it or I'd be working on it.
Correct.
And
The majority of use case will be working with it.
feels like it should be explicit. It's like, now I want to work on it. And it's like,
That's
okay,
what all these
let's go
functions
with
are.
that actually.
So let me just. There isn't a best way to enter this number of things. So in preemption of what I think you're trying to ask, let me jump to the other area of change, which is the set of images tools. So these would be the tools that would be given to every agent so that they knew how to use the agentic system. So the first function is images find.
Mm-hmm.
The agent that wants to find an image would need to supply effectively a stuck, where I've simplified it down to just saying a generalized problem statement and separately some situation specific details.
Mm-hmm.
And so the net result of that is you're going to get back an image ID where it says, okay, I've heard your request. We've got an image for that. Here it is.
What happens if there's no image for that?
You'll get a vanilla image.
Right. So, blank sheet. Okay.
Right. You should never get a blank sheet. After we've just started, getting a blank image would be quite a novel thing, I would imagine. Like, surely within the first couple of days of automated use, right, you would
Maybe
expect
a
that
few.
the
Yeah.
majority of the query space would be covered by something at least sort of fucking specific, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, right, and then you can also use this extra function, images feedback, which says when you're using it and you notice something that could be better, you submit your feedback using this function. Or if there's like an actual problem with the image, you submit it with this function.
Okay. And the problems are just basically notes, because it might be the individual usage, or it might be something fundamental. It's like it doesn't
Yeah,
feel
but
quite right, or
you need to give us some information that we can use to. It's like, yes, you registered the problem. That's cool. Um, we'll figure something out.
okay, which sounds a lot like a stuck, really.
That is a stuck. So the way that the find works is that the second set, the final set of changed functions that I have made is the stucks set of functions. Here you can do stuck link image, which is where you say, here's a stuck ID, where a stuck was that problem statement that came in from the search,
Yeah,
and you create a link between that stuck and one of the registered images.
yeah, okay,
Unlink is just like, well, that didn't work, so we're going to remove the link.
yeah,
Um, Creating a stuck is where you would take that find piece and you'd write it down in this very simple stuck format. Um, and stuck destroy is the same. And the point of it is that if the stucks are stated in a generalized genericized type of a problem statement, then vector embeddings work very well to be able to say that when I use the find function, so I go images find, and I submit my query in the format of a stuck, then the stuck finding system has a great chance of winning because it can find other stucks that are similar to yours and look at the links that were set for them to specific images, and then it gives you back the single most likely image in its opinion. But the key is turning it into problems. Like, you got to query as a stuck, because otherwise it's sort of too open ended. Like, if I just stored images, how would you go from I need this thing to that image does that thing? You know, it's not.
well, yeah, the stuck needs to refer to. I tried to do this with an instance running this image, and I couldn't.
Yeah,
But it also needs to handle. I tried to do this thing, and there are no images that came even close.
yeah.
And so it's like headless stucks waiting for an image to even bootstrap itself.
Yeah, so they just go into the queue there, and the humans or the bots would start to grind away to attempt to fix them. And then over time, things would surely get better.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
It seems uncontroversial. It's quite a tidier way of doing it than we were talking about.
oh, that's good. That's a relief to hear that. I spent a lot of time scrunching it down and reasoning through the ins and outs of it for it. Now, some of the nuances that might not be apparent from the simplicity of these functions. When you register an image, it matters where you register it, because what we need is the ability for an agent that's running as a project to be able to register its own versions of what the name of an image resolves to. So there's like the computer level registry, which is saying any agent trying to find out how to do something is going to pull down images from that registry. There's probably a more global registry, like a npm grade registry of like the whole world. But then there's also like each agent, particularly ones that are managing a project or managing some workflows, needs the ability to register images only for within its boundaries. So if I want to make a workflow where there's like the invoicer, the sum checker, and the emailer, I would want those image names to be resolved local to me. Like I want to say what those are. I don't want to pick up the global version of that. I want to pick up my local version that I'm working on and tweaking on to make sure that they work right for my specific use case. So I designed that to be able to let you register images at different scope levels so that you can build named workflows with named agents within them, and they keep booting off of a template.
Is that just an alias, or is it something more? Is there you
It's
can create an
it's
alias? Um,
it's well, it's not an alias per se. It's like this is the image, because the image will be, if you wanted to use the global image, fine, don't register anything locally. But if you want to make your own overrides or your own local namespace, then you want to register with yourself.
okay, interesting enough. I flopped to that when I was looking at the stuck loop because it came back with like computer dragon or whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
That's not very helpful in terms of meat brain.
right.
And so I said, from this point on, I'll call this agent that. But
Yeah,
it was in thread, and
yeah. So
so
that's the point of making it so that registries can be scoped. So you can either do it within the project that you're working on, within the computer, or within the sort of network of computers, depending on
right,
how
so
you
you can
set it
talk
up.
to things in a bit nicer way because
Yeah.
the naming at the moment,
You can, well, you can not only talk to them in a nicer way, but you can share templates around where the image, sorry, you can share images around that are templates of things that you all understand. Like you're all using the Gmail image.
right. So if I understand you correctly, I could create a bunch of bots with workflow instead of having to talk about, I don't know, hopeless llama. I could say, right, okay, that is HR, and there'll be what, a wrapper around that saying,
Wait on.
okay,
I think that
HR.
might be different. Like you're asking for, once an agent is up and running, you're asking to be able to alias it so that when I talk about that running instance by name, something knows how to find it,
Yeah.
right?
So, for example, tell HR to fire this person.
Right. But then if HR was an image, you would then fire up an instance of HR and then tell them to fire the person.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
let's
different,
say,
it seems.
I think it is subtly different. Say if I named the person, fire John Smith, um, then what I'd expect is the image for HR, which is approved in black box inside Perimeter, would fire
Yeah.
up, and then it would have the repos,
Yeah.
and it would look up John Smith
Yeah.
and send him an email saying you're fired.
Yep, cool. Yep, that matches. But were you also talking about where you've got an agent that you started, like say you just started a particular instance of the HR image, and then you were like, I want to call this one Mr. Muggles.
Um, yeah,
Yes?
um, yeah. So there's subtlety here, isn't there? Um, in an organization where it's not just me,
Right.
you want people to say, right, HR means this
This image.
image, and when it spins up, it has access to all the repos, so it knows
Yep.
what I'm talking about.
Yep.
In thread, HR, you might want to be, you know, a bit more friendly to yourself and say, you know, call it Mr. Muggles. And but that is already handled. I'm already doing that. The thing is, that is at the scope of my thread. So I can tell my
Okay, so just to be clear, there's no need for a shared aliasing system for running agents. The shared image system is sufficient. Is that right?
if the image itself was called HR,
Yep.
then uh, it's already handled that I could rename HR anything I want
Correct.
in order to
Yeah.
make it more useful to me.
Yeah. But it would be that naming would be seen by all if you were the one that had the power to rename it. Are you talking about wanting to rename it in your own local space, your local namespace?
No, that can already be done. You can do that now.
No, but that's just in thread.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so when you start a new thread, that's not stored anywhere, so that disappears.
yeah. But in an organization, you want to be able to say, right, here's HR image, here's finance, etc., so that people know that they can talk to the bot and say, right, talk to HR.
Yeah, so where that's a problem, where that sort of stems from is the fact that booting a new agent each time somebody wants to talk to a particular image is really good for scale because it
Mm-hmm.
means that scale's not a problem. You could have a million people asked to talk to HR all at once and it just wouldn't even care. It's like the bottleneck is shifted to how many hosts can you boot,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Not how many concurrent conversations can this one poor little agent have, because that's a stupid problem. But
yeah,
um, what you can't do when you boot the each agent that's booting off the HR image is named uniquely.
yeah,
So at
for
the
sure.
moment, I got them booting as like frantic pigtail or whatever they're called,
Yeah,
but that's booted from the HR agent, the HR image.
you kind of want the image itself to, yes, through the URL, you need to use frantic pigtail, but if you've got your thread and you say, right, boot me an instance of HR,
Yeah.
you should be able to go and find that. Now, the actual
Wait, what do you
running
mean go find
instance,
that? What do you mean
well,
go find it?
go to the images
Oh, go to
tab.
images, find the HR images, boot up an agent with it, and
Yeah,
then once you've got that in hand, tell me you're good to go,
right. So
right?
it's almost an auto aliasing thing because it's going to come
Right.
up with
Yeah,
something
because then
else.
when you're like, tell HR to blah, 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 that's what that means, right? Find the
Yeah,
HR image, boot an instance, and then tell that instance what I just told you to tell HR, right?
right. And then further in the thread, because I know HR is that instance, sorry, that running instance of the image.
Yeah.
It could be called, whatever, verb noun. I don't have to um, remember that verb noun because when at the end of the session, I say, right, commit, right, destroy, my running instance. Um, Next time I run it, I'm going to have to remember a new
Or
verb noun.
not, or not. Okay, so what? Okay, so that brings a really interesting wrinkle in because running or not running doesn't really matter because the agents halt. They're designed to halt all the time. The
Mhm.
designed to be halted. It's like running or not running. What we really mean is existing or instanced or not instanced. So the instance can respond to you, but I think what you're asking for is like a local alias table where, like, if you've said go talk to HR, that boots an agent, but then that sticks around somewhere so that next time you say tell HR this, it wouldn't just make a new one, it would keep the one that you had going, because that's still very scalable. Because if I make an HR instance for each agent that's trying to talk to it, I can keep that around, no problem, because that just keeps, you know what I mean? But it needs to be stored somewhere. I need to store it so that you, it's almost like each agent has an instantiation list where it's like, this agent ID, I booted it from this image. So therefore, whenever anyone asks me to talk to that image, I really just grab the instance that I got.
It's an interesting one, isn't there?
It's a
Uh,
bit curly, right?
so, so say if I've got a conversation in my thread. It's like tell HR to fire John Smith, right? Bang, and then I could have a conversation. It's like, okay, I could go into the URL of that HR instance and have an interesting conversation about, whether or not we should fire him, what legalities. When I commit, I'm committing back to the repo that every image that is booted will be able to see that repo and will be
Correct.
able to see whether he's fired or not. So
Correct.
there's something that is similar to, right, I've got a running instance that I call HR
Yeah.
and I commit. When I commit, everyone can see that, so anyone else um, takes an image and gets a running instance will see that commit. But
Plus,
there's a
every
commit,
other running instance would
right?
know that the change occurred and would possibly trigger something. Like, they might have also been working on something to do with the person in question. They would see a new commit land and they're like, oh, breaking news.
Yeah, yeah. But there's an extra thing here, isn't there? Because I could have be talking to the HR instance, running instance, as a scratch pad. It's like, oh, let's talk about all sorts of things and let's figure this out. It's like, okay, right, we've made a decision. Okay, so commit that. And the extra thing is commit and die, which is instance. I no longer need my scratch pad. I've committed the stuff I want.
So at the moment, whenever the interaction turn completes, the repos are committed.
Yeah. So, um, but I'm thinking along these lines of, well, where's it committed to? Which repo? Because you could have a workspace with the repo that runs the instance, but also refer to an external repo, which might be a shared repo.
Never, never. So the model is that only at the computer level is the repo external or cloned from somewhere, or from GitHub. But internally, every agent's workspace repos come from the computer repos, so they're always on computer.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, yeah, that works. Um, so take a HR department, half dozen HR people, all working on things. I could spin up by saying, right, tell HR. HR would be indexed against an image. That image would create an instance.
Yep.
That instance would have a unique verb noun name,
Yep.
and that verb noun name would be instantiated to HR for the rest of the thread. But by talking to that instance, you're talking to a shared repo because
Yep.
anyone else spinning up an image with HR, we'll get a different verb now,
Yep.
different agent, but they're talking to the same shared source of knowledge.
Yeah. Because if you boot up an agent that has no shared repos between all of its so its image doesn't define any repos that it's going to check out, that means that it's not a stateful agent. It'll just boot as
Precisely.
it is, and it won't know what's going on. It won't be able to communicate between its running instances. It won't be coordinated in any way. It's just like a, what's the word for that? It's almost like a pure agent. It has no side effects.
Yeah, but as you're saying, as you're working on an instance, everything is being committed
Yep.
each time you do it, which is good.
Yep.
And it stays there until you kill it.
Well,
Um,
what do you mean stays there? Because it's not. It doesn't really go anywhere.
it persists. So
If it
if I
commits,
put,
it persists. But if you, for some reason, yeah, it at turn end, everything's committed all the time
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
It's whether or not you
So
choose to merge it back into main that's the difference.
yeah, that is the key difference. So you've um, the point I'm making here is while the instance is running, everything
Yeah,
is committed all the time, which is great
right,
because you can put everything to sleep, come back up, go into a different device, whatever
yep,
you want to do, and it'll be there because of the URL.
right.
At some point, um, that is my workspace. I may want to put that into um, a shared repo, which is like the canonical yes, no, is John Smith in a job.
A shared repo. You can't have a repo that wasn't part of a shared repo on the computer. Like you,
Yes, but is there, there's multiple repos that you can have.
on a computer, you can have unlimited repos.
Right. So I could, in the image, say,
Hmm.
right, you're HR, here's what you do,
Here's the
and
HR
here's the
repo.
repo that we're talking about.
Yep.
And then when I talk to it, each time it commits, it's committing to its own repo, which
Its
is also
own,
on the
well,
computer.
it's committing to its own branch of that repo. And it may, depending on how it's been sysprompted, it may attempt to merge it to another branch like main.
Right.
I think that's the best way to get the branches in. Because, again, what I am planning to change is to actually make, right now, the workspaces are on that NFS storage. And I actually think they belong on the host because they get discarded whenever the host shuts down. The actual virtual machine, the physical virtual machine, if that's even a thing, that's running the agent, when that gets shut down, all of its storage gets wiped. And so the workspaces being there means that as soon as the machine shuts down, the workspaces get wiped, which is great because uh, any changes to the workspaces could only have occurred during a turn, which means that they would have got committed to that branch. So the next time that the agent is instanced into a host, the next time the agent is actually running on a host machine, all those repos get restored and it's a very quick operation and it brings them back to the pristine state that the last git commit was, and everything's fresh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I know that initially when I set upon that, I was like, oh, that feels kind of weird, but at some point we need to decide that here is the folder structure of the system and we don't want agents going outside of that because otherwise you just get weird stuff littered all over the place. And I so far think it's a good rule to say that at the end of each turn a commit on the branch that is dedicated to only that agent, that branch gets committed, and then the whole workspace gets destroyed, but the commit stays.
Can I just drill down just to double check we're synced on this one? So by commit, we're committing every prompt, right?
Oh, no, that's separate. The workspace is where the repos that contained files to be worked upon goes.
Ah, right.
The
Okay.
agent,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
agent itself stores its prompts and its chat and its chatter separately to that, and that also is committed at end of turn. But I haven't built that bit, so just right now at end of turn it just gets saved. But I haven't put that bit in. It will be resulting in a git commit so that the agent can be rolled back and looked at and all that too.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. So um, we're only slightly out of sync there, but that's basically what I understood. So the thread is being saved.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to, well, I just did it this morning on one of the agents that pressed reconnect, didn't reconnect. All right. So take the URL into an URL. The thread's gone, but all the files are there that we've been working on. So my previous thread is gone. I don't really care that much about that because that's the scratch space.
I can show you how to get that back. What's Can you send me the URL?
I can do better than that because hey, I can share my screen. Check me out with my new screen sharing superpower.
I shall believe it when I see it.
There you go.
Whoa.
Right. So
Hey.
hey, I know. How long's it been? Okay, so this is the where's my cursor gone? There it is.
All right, so you were in Codex and you were like, "Hey, I lost my thread," right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
and
cancel out
there's
of
that
that.
re.
So
There's
so
that.
go
Sorry,
into Codex and press Control C twice.
a second. Do that whole flicking between VR and glasses thing. Uh, Help if I actually piped it to the right place.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, now press the up arrow. Go space, resume, enter.
Okay. Where's
Well,
my?
you got no. What?
Where's it
Are
gone?
you sure this is the right one?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And you had.
Because all the workspace is still there. All the the
All right,
files that I was creating and working on.
can you open up the
Repos.
home directory?
I certainly can.
Under sessions. Oh no, better yet, history.jsonl.
Oh yeah, that's the thread. That is the thread.
Okay, so copy
Not the
that.
responses. It's not the
Yeah,
responses
that's
though.
cool. That's cool. So copy that. See that the session ID. Copy that with the quotes around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. And now cancel.
cancel what?
Just into Codex and then cancel out, so that you're back at the command prompt.
Mm-hmm.
Up arrow,
Mm-hmm.
space, paste that string, press enter.
Ah, and there it comes back. Hold a second. No, these are yeah okay. So you mentioned this. These are only my prompts. Oh, actually, no.
What?
Let me check.
No, that's the
Send error
response too.
303. No.
It's
These are
just not
responses
all
as
the
well.
chatter. That's all you're missing is the chain of thought.
That's absolutely fine.
I don't know why the regular resume didn't work there.
Don't know why. But for now, that's an easy workaround. Um, I don't know. It's like it doesn't know what the self session ID is.
That is very weird.
Anyway, okay, so
No,
yeah.
it shows up for me. Like when I go in there, can you cancel out of that
Mm-hmm.
and then start a new terminal session? Or basically, can you like refresh the page? Like, when did you last refresh this page?
About half an hour ago when the
Oh, okay,
reconnect
that's
didn't
cool.
work.
Can you start a new terminal session? So use the plus key in the on the terminal where you were in Codex. At the top of that panel where it says bash, there's a plus sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Press that. So this is how you can have multiple. You know that, right? You can have multiple terminal sessions going at once and jump between them if you're that way inclined.
Yeah.
Um, and now codex space resume,
Mm-hmm. Don't
mate.
pick up. Oh,
Let
what's
me.
all this?
That's
That's
yeah. So that turns out that as best I can tell, that is an issue with a new feature, a preview feature in VS Code where it tries to it's called local echo, and it tries to forecast what the app is going to draw on screen to try and remove some of the latency for you, but it fucks
it's
up
been a
sometimes.
pain in the arse. It's
I
that
know.
has been the pain in the arse. It's like every time I switch between windows, you get the string of RGBs, and it's like, what, a bunch of colors?
Yeah, I know. It's
I
it's
need
because
to
it's trying to use
individually
it's
delete.
trying to dim it's trying to do some dim text that forecasts what you were going to say, but there's some latency issue there. So that's a probably in the next release or so it'll fix it. I don't really get that issue anymore since I upgraded Codex, but you're on the latest version anyway. So look, I'm sorry, man. It's
Yeah, no, man. I think we can put this into
yeah,
the bucket of someone else's problem.
someone else's problem will get fixed soon. So let me show you what I see when I'm on your
Mm-hmm.
machine. Right,
Mm-hmm.
so I come in, I'm on unconscious buzzard. I go codex resume. I get your thread, and I just
Right.
go enter, and it just
And
works.
then it's all there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know
The
what you got
features
going
are
on there.
here. It's just unevenly distributed. So,
It's,
um,
so yeah,
it's fine.
but either way, like that sort of
Oh,
feels like a
it's gonna sort itself out. If it's sorted out at you know, done by you, eventually it's gonna probably a day or two. It's gonna sort itself up.
yeah,
But in the meantime, session ID, fine. That's cool.
yeah,
I really don't think we need to bother ourselves with that.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Where were we? Um, I was telling you about some stuff. I think
Yes, that's
so. We were
segue.
dealing
Yep.
with agents booting images, booting. So I need to make an internal sort of an alias table where it's like I have booted the HR agent and that's what that resolves to right now. So like a running instance resolver of sorts. Not even sure how that's going to look.
That
Um,
resolver. Sorry. I'm not sure we covered everything in the previous topic, but it's
mm,
to do with this. So if I say tell HR, then that resolver takes HR inside of the perimeter because namespace clash
yeah,
with anyone else.
yeah.
And you know HR means this image spins up an instance which has got verb noun, but I can now talk to that instance as HR. Is that what you mean by resolver?
No, that part's sort of in this design already. What I mean is that if you did all that, and then time goes by, you have some more conversations, and then you again go, hey, tell HR to undo that last change. It shouldn't boot a new agent off the image for HR because it's already done that. It should find the one that you had already booted
Yes,
because you didn't
yes,
dispose of it. You
right.
didn't say, okay, right, destroy that agent, destroy HR. You didn't say that.
Yeah.
It's still
So
running. So it's
it's
implicit.
hibernating.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, everything's always hibernating in this system. This is like the crashiest system ever. But what I think you're actually implying is when you tell HR twice, you expect to be talking to the same agent that you fired up. Because one way to think about it is that HR is a building of phone operators. It's a call center. You place the call, and then you got an operator, and they were like, "Hey, what's up?" You're like, "Hey, fire this guy," and it's like, "Yeah, okay." And then you would expect that that operator would hold the line so that they held the context with which you were talking, because you're still the same person, and you're like, "Oh, that last thing I
Right.
told you." You should be able to call on the context of other conversations. You're like, "Hey, tell me everything I've told you," and they're like, "Well, you said this, and then you said this, and then you said this." That's what I would. That's what I think you imply when you do that.
Yes. And the important part of that is there's a cognitive break when if I am talking to HR, every time I talk to HR, I would expect it to remember what I said.
Yeah,
Right. Like a phone call. If I
right.
hang up, it's like deleting.
Hang
So
up
the
is an
cognitive break
explicit
is,
action. You're like,
yeah,
hey, hang up with HR, and then your
right.
agent would be like, sure, done. And then the
Now,
next
now
time you call HR, they'll be like, what
look
did
at
I
the
say? And you're like,
records.
oh, whoa, hang on, let me just check my call notes, because now
Yeah,
you're you're with a different operator now.
precisely. And that seems fine because there's an explicit right. Get rid of this
Yeah,
agent.
yeah,
I'm never going to call it
right.
again.
But then you can
It's like
also
a closed
say,
ticket, right?
yeah, you can also say to the agent that you booted from the HR image, hey, I want to start a new thread, and then you'll start a new thread. Or you might want to say, hey, I want to go back to this other thread, and it might sort of, you could choose which threads of conversation you wanted to carry on with.
Oh, can you show me that? So within a running instance, you can create a new thread because you're getting
Yeah.
close to your context window,
Well,
presumably,
you're not. I don't think
or it's polluted with all sorts of
it's
things.
just a totally different topic, and you just want to talk about something else. You want to talk about a different HR issue, right? You don't want them to
Uh,
bleed.
yeah, I've not
Yeah.
needed to do that yet, but wouldn't that be
Yeah. I guess
handy? Feels handy.
I do it when I imply that when I start a new terminal session and then start a new codex instance. That would be the
Oh, is,
same as saying new.
oh, is that all it's required? New terminal codex, boom, new thread.
Yeah. So you can,
That's
if you're in
oh,
here,
that's
you can just go. If I go new terminal and then codex again, then that is now a new separate conversation.
that's what
Alternatively,
I accidentally did this morning when it didn't pick up the session ID.
and then you can do that arbitrarily many times, right? But then say we're here and we're in your this is your conversation that you were having earlier. I can then go to codex, hey, slash new, and now I get a brand new. There's no message history in this session now.
Okay. Um, so either one, but the result is the same.
The result's the same, yeah.
And the new session doesn't have access to the previous thread.
No, and if we want to make it so that it does, we'll have to do some tooling to make it do that, because that
No, of
seems
course.
reasonable, and you sort of get that for free if you follow the repo commit model, because in repo commits you're effectively updating the shared information that all threads see. So you're kind of getting that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I've never felt the urge to do that. It's not to say it's not useful, but what you're saying is, if you're going to do that, and if you want that to do that, you stash it into a repo,
Yeah.
and then you spin it up, which seems reasonable because moving thread of the same thread is different from moving thread between instances. Um, so the very base use case I've been using a lot, which is use one thread landing page agent instance in order to create an agent. It creates an agent. It's lovely at doing it, actually. It's brilliant. And this unconscious buzzard is entirely created by it. I haven't touched anything, and it does a really good job. Then you go into unconscious buzzard and you're working away, and then you come back to the other one. But you're talking about two different instances with different images. So other than the shared storage that is accessing, you don't really need anything else. It seems quite nuanced to be able to go inside of one instance to another thread. I haven't found a reasonable use case yet. That's not to say, it's not useful. I just knocked over my
Okay, so
gesticulating.
where does that leave us? So that means that when you talk to an image, you boot up an agent to instance the image, and then you're chatting away like that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then
Yep.
throughout the session, if you want to talk to that image again, it'll default to that agent that it already spun up, because it's like, well, that's probably what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of and I'm about 40% certain of this. It was something like one instance, one thread.
No, I used to think that too, and then I was like, actually, there's a case to be made for one instance, multiple threads, particularly when you get workflows going where you want several agents to talk to another agent, and that agent needs to, in each different thread that's coming in, modify some of its state, like the repo, and
Uh,
do something based on having been given information from multiple places. Now, if you were to make a new agent every time, you get this explosion of agents, which isn't probably what you wanted.
oh, I see. Right. So moving away from HR, say if we had uh, an agent that just makes a random number and then we wanted to average the random number. So we don't want a new instance each
Yeah,
time. We want
yeah.
multiple
But
threads.
there might also, it might, like in a workflow, there might be one agent that was the Kanban board manager, and various agents in the workflow need to update the Kanban board. And so they want to talk to this single agent that's sticking around, because it feels like to personify these things is to make them act like a person, where they're sort of able to be aware of the results of multiple conversations that have happened with them at a time. Now we can emulate that by using the repos, but with a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more time and effort, we can also make tooling that lets them see across conversation threads within them too. Like, that's not out of the realms of doable, because as you see, the data's there, it's sitting there on the disk. All we got to do is make a tool that sort of summarizes it, or sort of provides some other insight. So it's not impossible to do, but I really think that if we move away from the model of treating these things like humans, we will be lost, because it seems easy to think about it like a single human, where you got one person receiving lots of different messages from different people about different things, and then the problem of making it aware of information contained in multiple independent conversations. That's an internal problem to be solved for that agent, but that's how I expect the world to work and how I think about humans working. So I feel like that's the safe path.
I utterly agree, and I think that's actually a fundamental.
Mm.
Now, people, you know, typically, oh shit, my keyboard again, can what take about 6 threads in their head before they start forgetting things. But it's more than one, right? Um,
Yeah, and then
so
they
it's
use
like take
tools
the
like
trash
writing
out,
it
feed the
down or
dogs,
taking some
you know.
notes, taking some
Yeah,
notes, whatever.
yeah, right. So as a human, I can probably take 6 threads, uh, 6 separate commands, which I'm equipped to do each, and then there's probably a prioritization task. But the fact is, you're not forgetting anything, and they're not silos. So
That's right.
um, I
That's right.
like that. I like that a
Yeah,
lot. Okay,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that seems like the model to stick to. I think
Except that
what we're
there's an
seeing is
infinite
that
number of yeah.
the tooling that's appearing and the way the models work is a little bit cumbersome for that model we just discussed, that paradigm. But I
Hmm.
think that that's the paradigm that will survive. Like the models will become good enough to handle that pretty easily, and so that's really the one we should bank on, and we'll just muddle along until the models are a little bit better. I
No,
mean,
I agree wholeheartedly. The model I've been going on is it needs to feel as much as possible like you're talking to a person.
right, right,
So
right, right,
one thing,
right.
and sure, you can talk to different people,
Yeah.
but when you're talking to that different person, it's still one person.
Yeah, so that I guess fits the image model where when you find an image model, you're talking about you're seeking someone in the role of. So you're like looking for someone in the role of Kanban manager, the role of HR. And the first time you make contact, you're like, oh, that's Dave, Dave from HR. And then you start talking to Dave, and then you'd sort of be surprised if suddenly it was like Almira, and you're like, where's Dave? Like I was talking to Dave, he knows me, and
Yeah,
that's really
he
the
knows what I've been
thing.
talking about. We had a
Yeah,
long chat about this. It's
yeah,
like, oh my
right.
god, I'm going.
And you're
But
like,
it
I'm
is
gonna have to. How many tokens am I gonna have to waste here? So
that
when
that.
you seek to talk to the image, you're talking to an image represents a role, which is sort of what we were angling at with service, but it's
Mhm.
better fitted as an image. So the image is it represents a role, and then you like instance it, which means that now pops an instantiation which has a name. It's like Dave, and you're talking to
Right,
it.
and even a new instantiation is a bit like calling a call center, right?
Yeah,
So you call a call center, lots of chat, lots of context, hang up. Okay, you call again to a different person, and you give your credentials. What you want them to do is to instantly understand what you're talking about. You don't
or
want to have to ever
preferably
re-explain.
transfer me over to the person I was talking to last time. Like that's
Oh,
who I,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that'd be
Like
ideal.
and there's
Yeah.
a mode for that in PABXs, which is caller affinity. So when I call up from the same number, the PABX will try to match me back to the same extension that I was on previously.
Oh, I think I've recently experienced that. I had a really good call center experience with the uh, when we're like moving around accounts and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So that's how they do it because it was
yeah.
always the same guy.
Affinity. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
then when I phoned him up after probably shift end, I got new person.
Yeah, I mean,
But it
if
was
he's
okay.
taking a
The new
dump,
person,
like he's not going to take your call, but that's kind of that's a good experience, right? Affinity
yeah,
or agentic affinity is a good experience for you, I think, and
because
I,
you never want to say something twice. That is really
that's
fucking
one of
annoying.
the rules of life, right? But I think that's kind of these things we're discovering is like, well, there's a lot of implicit expectation we have in the system, and we're right now hitting the need to codify it. And one of the topics I wanted to bring up with you um, is I feel this is an okay time to switch, right? We've kind of
Yeah,
thrashed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm happy with
yeah,
that previous topic.
happy
Yeah,
with it. All
let's
right.
lock that. Yeah.
So, and just to clarify, the plan I've got for images, stux, and agent create, those things are. I know I'm sort of. I feel like I'm forcing it on you a bit, but I mean, I'm not hearing any major complaints here.
The only bit I'm slightly woolly about is aliasing, if I say HR,
Yeah,
um, the indexing that HR is this image, and say if I've
yeah,
ever called HR before, it spins up instance is
mm,
instantiated to HR in the
yeah.
thread. That binding of that image as my name is HR. Uh, I'm a bit willy about how that's done, but that's probably just a directory problem, right? It's like call
Well,
HR.
yeah. All I'm doing is sorry about the line wrap there. So this is the map of the layout of what inside an agent folder looks like. I've just been making a folder named images, and then that would be like HR. And then it's got its agent toml, its instructions, its
Oh,
agents.md.
so the name is instantiated in the folder structure,
Well, the
which would be
name,
local.
the image name, well, yeah, but that's if you registered it locally. You can also, this is the computer level register as well. So I can see at the computer level, so this is computer one, this is the image registry for the whole computer. And so that could be HR. And then and see how I had this convention name of at landing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you were asking me the other day, how do I change my landing agent, or how do I make my landing agent be something different? You would register a modified image to the at landing name at the
Mm-hmm.
at the computer level, and then that would cause the computer to, each time a landing event occurred, it would instance this new image for you, and that's how you change your landing agent.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
and
in
so this
terms
would
of
be HR, and you'd just be like, "Hey, I want to talk to HR," and it looks in the computer registry and then instances this image.
so it seems reasonable then. I'm just thinking on the fly here that you're looking for HR. Name one is HR, and it's like
Mm.
okay, so I know what that is. But say if there's no HR in images, then you go up to what C2 and look there.
Well, that's computers. So the next level up would be like the friends and family version of the registry. Like that's
Right?
where
Yeah.
I haven't spent the time to figure out exactly how that works. So an easy answer is to say there's one global registry, or I was just going to use a config at the computer level that said, if you can't find something in this registry, here's where the next highest registry is.
Oh, that's quite sweet. Actually, that works because that's a lot like how DNS works, isn't it?
Sort of, except DNS bakes the way to figure out where next highest is within the name itself, but we're not. I don't think that's a good thing to do, because that would imply that it puts a little bit too much onus on the name, because the name really doesn't matter. It's the purpose or the intent that matters. And so, really, this style of fallback is like, so when you run a node program and it looks for node modules, what it's actually doing is, if you asked for a module, first of all, it checks the current directory for a node modules folder and then looks for that module. If it doesn't find it, it walks every parent, and at each level it checks for a node modules folder, and if it has that module in it, all the way up to the root. And so that's
Right.
sort of more the model that we're following here. It's like we're going to give you redirection options which can be stacked. So I could
Yeah.
I could specify like 5 different registries to try in order, if you can't resolve from or get no joy from a
Yeah,
particular
but
one.
the nice thing about that is you still have control through config.json
Yeah,
into
you've got
images.
ultimate control, but the 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 quirky bit is that it's not supposed to. it's not a it's not a deterministic resolution. It's a fuzzy kind of a stuck based resolution. So it's saying that we're not trying to find images based on a name. We're trying to find images based on a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And where you go to get them is that's why it's a little bit, it
Well,
seems.
that's okay because if you've got a registry and a fallback registry and so on, and those registries are going to say HR means this and
Yeah.
so on. Now, if you say human
Well, no,
resources,
yeah, but you wouldn't be asking them for HR. You would have asked one of the registries around here, hey, I've got this problem. I want to talk to someone who can do the removal of personnel from this org. And the response back would have been like, oh, you want the agent named HR. And
right?
when you get that back, that's an unambiguous, like, you're not going to get told it's HR and then you've got to go looking for where to find HR. Like, the fact that the search gave it to you means that the search knows where to get it for you too. So you're not
Well,
really in this problem that we're discussing.
well, there seems to be like I don't know whether this is wrong or not, but I'll give it a right. Okay, so say HR, maybe config JSON knows of a registry that is an exact match. If it doesn't, the next step should be presumably to look inside of its own image folder and then says anything look like HR, and maybe it's and so on. And if
Yeah,
not, then go
no,
again.
yeah, you're, it's different because you're assuming you already know that you want HR.
Well, I'm assuming that the agent that I'm talking to, that I'm saying, right, I need to talk to someone about uh, oh, disciplinary situation with their
Yeah,
staff. I
yeah,
would expect it to understand that as a HR issue. So
yeah,
it's
but
like, oh,
that's when it calls the image search function, and then
right, and it,
it gets back a name of an image, but that name, you don't have to go hunting for where to get that. It comes back, and it's already resolved.
yeah, you're right, because
It wouldn't have
that
come
very
back
same
otherwise.
route, if I said HR,
It's who you
it,
queried that
it
matters.
is like that would be really obvious within the context. It's like
Within the
right,
context,
call
it's
HR. I
yeah,
want to fire
it's who
Johnston.
you
It's like
queried. It's who you queried. So, the interesting quirk about like this whole thing that I keep skinning my knuckles on with this whole thing is that there's only ever agents. So that search function is being met by an agent. So in each computer, there's another special name that I wanted to put in here called at image search. And that one is the one that does the searching for to give you images,
right.
right?
Okay,
And so
so
if you're inside of an agent and you go into your images folder and you want to override the search, you can set your own one at search or at what did I say it was, find images. And then that's going to get asked whenever anyone else asks if they don't know the name already. But in a
yeah,
lot of mini contexts, like in a workflow, everyone will know the name because it's been sort of given to them at the start. You're like, when you want to update the Kanban board, you call the Kanban guy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
precisely,
So
precisely.
sometimes it's given to you and you already know where to find it. You don't have to go looking. It's almost like this searching for a specific image is not really a thing. Like, it's not really a mode of operation in a world where the image is returned as a result of a stuck.
You could also pistol whip it by giving it the absolute root to an image.
Yeah, or a path or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Okay. So I know that's shaky overall, but we're cool enough to move on with that.
yeah, yeah. No, that answers the question.
All right. So that
Yeah, yeah.
I also the other two new folders along with images that I've added is stucks, because you need to have a pool of stucks to be able to use links on, where the links are a relationship between a stuck and an image.
Yes. Yes.
Because
Now,
otherwise you can't go from stuck to image if you don't have those links. So those links actually appear quite special. That's what knowledge is.
yes, I agree. One thing I would say is on Conversational Dragon, it flopped to um, uh, a more nuanced idea of what a stuck is. Stuck might be like um, it's observed that you've tried to do something and didn't, or you're saying, "Hey, I really want this to do this," and it doesn't. Or I tried to do this; it should do this, and it didn't. So I think it can add more detail, basically, what I'm saying, into that stuck one JSON based on the conversational dragon.
Yeah, I know. It's that's gonna be a delicate one. I figured that the way we should go is to just get it crappily working enough and then find a way to point the bots at optimizing all these types of thing, right? You're like,
Yeah, the crappy way is we just lump everything into stuck one JSON, which
what?
is actually um, so what it's suggesting is we split these nuances out. So effectively, a folder stuck one, and stuck one has observations and all that kind of thing. But we could stick it all into one JSON, right? Because these are not big.
They're tiny.
Uh,
They're tiny, and they need to stay tiny. Like they need to stay below
yeah,
8,000 tokens, roughly.
yeah, and it flopped into JSON anyway, and
All right.
included conversations about people talking about stucks
Yeah,
or
but that's all.
there or
Yeah,
all that
that's
kind of
all
thing.
like ancillary information. I don't know how to deal with that just yet. So my plan was to get this sort of simple little basic version going, and then hope that we can understand a bit more about which direction to go in. Like this might need some radical refactoring, but we won't know. It just this seems good enough to play with, is what I was thinking.
It
Um,
does, it does.
all right,
And yeah, so you were about to move on to another
I
topic.
was,
I
I
think
was,
you've
I
answered my
was.
question. Thank you
Okay,
for that.
great, great, great. Um, there's a thing called the pit of success,
Quite like that term. What was that then? Never heard of it, but I like it.
and it's basically saying that unmanaged C++ makes it so easy to fall into traps, buffer overruns, memory leaks, double freeze, mismatch between allocate. Using freed memory, umpteen dozen ways to trash the stack or heap, and those are just some of the memory issues. So the
Yeah,
point is that the pit of success, so instead of it being like success being an achievement, which is to say it's an unstable position at the top of something, you want to make it so that success is almost the default. Like if you came in there ignorant and just chose sort of what you thought should be right, you should arrive at success if we have designed the API right. And this
yeah.
is very important for bots, because bots, you need to make the MCP API geared towards them falling into success on their first go.
This is really important and comes to the heart, and it says it a lot better than I have about why I'm being so insistent that I'm using this tool with natural language only. And every time I need to go to a term is a failure of sorts because I
Yeah.
need to remember code
Right.
resume and that sort of
So
thing.
a well-designed system makes it easy to do the right things and annoying but not impossible to do the wrong things. Now, one of the so this was part of why I was rewriting the MCP interface, right? Because like it was
Uh,
starting to get annoying to me to have to do the right thing, like creating a system prompt versus an agents thing. And I was like, actually, I just want to make this default, and then I want to jab at it.
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
then when I'm kind of okay with it, I'll be like, make that a unit. And it's like, okay, image
precisely.
is registered. And it just felt like it was harder to mess up. It was more, it was way less typing for me to explain what the functions did. It was actually like, it was easier for me, and I felt it was easier for the bots. But we don't have looping testing that can go through all that for us in an automated way. Whoop de doo. The reason I'm bringing this up is that I read through your script that was trying to juggle your priorities in a
Mm-hmm.
number of areas, and it felt to me like in there is some of the examples that I see when I'm trying to program the API for the MCP tools, or any API for that matter, is that you can get into a position where you end up requiring a lot of specifics to come in when someone calls your function, and the telltale signal is inside your code or inside your prompt process. You're doing a lot of checking where you're like, check, does it have a priority attached? Check, does it have a something something attached? And it's like all these
That's true.
rules just to get the item in.
Yes.
And the instinct it's really hard, but I'm always trying to do it. Is that if you can use the natural force of the language, like you take for example, if I want say 5 parameters in a function, and I need them to all be unique, I could make that be an array, but then I would have to check that they were all unique, because you can make arrays with duplicate values. There's nothing prohibiting that in the JavaScript or any programming language. But if I make the parameters an object in the language cannot have duplicate keys. And so I've leaned on something that you can't get wrong. Like, you can't send me an object with duplicate keys. It just, you are either incapable of operating the computer, or something horrific has gone wrong, and I don't know how we're still processing at this point. So that's an example where I'm leaning on the physics of the system, because that's immovable. And why I wanted to bring this up, when I read through your processing and priorities and all that, and I was like, first of all, that's like a first blush at the system, and already is pretty complex. How much bigger is it going to get? And then how many more targets are we going to have to track? And then we got, like, my whole life. I mean, how many units of information is that, right? It's like, wow, that's gonna be hard. And then if I want to come in as a human and try to pick through it, I'm like, what's a priority? Ooh, what's a fucking C tag or whatever? Like, then the cognitive load is like, fuck, man. If I want to look under the hood, my brain is gonna hurt. And so I can't really help you fix my life, because I don't understand what's happening.
Interesting enough, this was one of the topics I want to talk to you about, which mirrors exactly what you're saying there. Uh, what effectively created was a glorified AI to-do list,
Right. Okay.
and
So
time warnings and so on.
the solution that I want to put to you is, I
Okay.
think that you can achieve everything you want to do
Mm-hmm.
by having a small, repeating, nestable structure. If you just simply had queues, stack ranks, and it doesn't matter about the priority or anything like that. The only operation is to put it in a different order.
Um, I would, yes, I would add to that. I think there's a place for confidence levels of the
No, well,
priorities.
no, because
Um,
if you have multiple nested queues, like say you've got like a queue for your domestic life, you've got a queue for this project in your work, a queue for this other project in your work, a queue for your actual work as a whole, then the confidence and the priorities are kind of implicit based on the position they get put in the queue, because at the end of the day, it just comes down to what's at the top of that queue. And the only way you know what's at the top of the queue is if you've been through every other item and stack ranked it.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm talking about, confidence level. So, say if you take buckets, you mentioned three, right? And what maybe the home life bucket, the weighting on that increases based on time of day. It's like getting very close to dinner. You really need to go and pick up frozen, all that kind of thing. Your work thing has its own weighting. It's like it can wait until tomorrow morning, because nothing's going to break. And maybe you got another one, getting your tax record. And it's like, okay, that can be done in 2 weeks. Very important. However, it's going to get more important the closer those 2 weeks are, because we need, half a day to get your tax in or whatever it is. So the agent needs to be able to understand priorities within the bucket, and then the weightings between buckets in order to give you the what's next. I think. I'm not sure about this one. I'm open for debate
Right,
on it.
but well, it just seems easier if a bucket or if a queue could be put in as an item on another queue. So that's what I mean about the nesting thing. So if you've got like a bucket of work items, a bucket of home items, and this queue is like, what should I do next? You can move the whole queue, the whole bucket of things up and down in this top level queue. And it
Is that
kind of.
top level queue generated?
What do you mean generated?
As in, I can give a whole bunch of items in each bucket,
Yeah,
and I can give information about I need to do this by tonight, or I need to
yeah,
do this in 2 weeks' time,
yeah.
and here's the importance of it, and so on. But the actual QEC, I think, should be dynamic and generated from those other buckets. So it's derivative.
Well, yeah,
So it's
like
not something.
that's the prioritization. What I was trying to get at was that you can save a lot of semantic information and tagging and processing rules by recursing that stack ranking thing and making a stack ranked item be within another stack rank as well. So you can arbitrarily nest them, queues within
Oh,
queues.
well, yeah, absolutely. And you can bring in information like cron job says, hey, it's now 1800. I know you're working on this, but this number two priority, get your ass up to the house and get some dinner, has now come to number one. So
Yeah,
it's that interrupt thing.
yeah. But and that causes like a reshuffle of all the queues. But if you showed me queues that represent the things in my life, I would instinctively understand that. I wouldn't understand P1, P2, P3. I might want some more. I might be tempted to want to fiddle with it. But if you
Oh, I
just.
see what you're saying. So let me reflect that back, because I might not have understood it. Um, it's your switch of contexts inside your own head. It's like, okay, show me everything I'm meant to do at home. Show me everything I'm meant to do at work. Show me everything everyone else is telling me to do.
Mm,
And so there's a context switch, and it's easy to understand. Okay, now I'm looking at home. It's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
I should have
these
done
are the
this.
things for home.
And so you're talking about the cognitive load of looking at just the output, and
Well, I'm talking about the
that's
cognitive load
immediately
of
jumps.
looking at like a big jumble of things that have all got text tags on them saying that they're things, like saying that it's a home task, saying that it's a priority number 5 or 6, right? But if you just showed me the stack rank of home things, I can comprehend that very easily. I don't need to understand
But
priorities. I just
you could also augment it. So if you named right, I've got a number of queues, and I'm going to call this one home. I'm going to call this one work. Let's keep it simple, just two of them.
hmm.
It's like right, show me a stack rank for home, and then you could add in additional information. It's like, well, actually, you didn't know about this, but she's asked me 5 times in the last hour for item number 5. That seems quite important, and it's time stamped, yeah, as in time sensitive. Okay, then I want to go and again, the what's next is the derived work
It's the
home.
complete considering everything knowable what's next for you right now. And it always
Uh,
has to come down to that virtualized final queue is always going to be a single sequence of things because you can only be in one place at a time. You can only do one job at a time. You are a
yeah,
stream of tasks, and this thing is about picking the right thing for you to do right now at this moment so that your historical queue, what you did do, you can view it as like all these little tasks that happened at different sequences and all that. And you can even have like cues like your big life goals. And it's like, okay, buddy, well, now's a good time to do this
yeah,
really big life goal thing.
yeah.
Because all the big things in your life come down to just like little half-hour blocks worked
Small
towards
baby
them.
steps, isn't it? It's all baby steps.
It's
And
all
so, but
because that's,
what
yeah,
the interesting thing you're saying is about the cognitive load of being able to go in and compartmentalize. It's like now I'm thinking about home.
yeah.
Is there any additional information? Am I, should I nudge this up just because it feels like it's the right? I've no argument
Yeah, it's also
with
not
it.
really, it shouldn't really be you that does the nudging. It's you that just answers questions or gives more information about it. It's the prioritization is you're failing. Like you haven't clearly haven't been able to set the priorities in your life right because you're a
What?
human, right? But it's not about it's not about you saying what the priority is. It's about the bot figuring out what the priority is based on asking you questions and information you tell it and ambient surrounding information.
Well, that's right. So when you're talking about one of these cues, you're giving additional context, and the
Yeah,
bot
and the
might be
cues the
able to
cues
reach
can
out
be the
and
cues
give.
can be dynamically rearranged as well. Like if you're like show me everything that is a low it's
Well,
a low calorie job or I've hurt my hand. Now what jobs can I do?
it should be dynamically rearranged because of the fallacy of I can't remember the name of it, but closer things seem more urgent than further away things, even though it's the further away thing that's going to kill you. You know, you need to get your tax returns in, and it's like, I need to do it in 3 months. I need to put the bins out. Yeah, okay, right, I need to do that today. That is really important in terms of cognitive load.
Hmm.
But to reflect, and I am agreeing with what you're saying, and it's an interesting insight reading through, what I was doing. Um, it was uh, it was a bit of a leap of faith. It's like, okay, so it's telling me what to do next, and it's like, okay,
Well, I
and
mean,
I'm
you can
kind of
always
losing
argue with
agent.
it.
Well, yeah, but I'm kind of losing agency on it, and it's like,
That's what you're giving up
why,
because you suck.
why?
Because you suck.
Yeah,
That's what.
and
Yeah.
then it's like,
It's,
um, and also the sequencing. I've got another topic for another day, which
mm,
is breaking down what I want to do into subtasks. I don't want to have to break it into subtasks. I want it to
right,
serialize them, or
right,
because it
right,
knows
right.
I'm only one. I can only do
Yeah,
serial
it
stuff.
knows all that stuff, right? And really,
Yeah,
like the maximum cognitive load it can take from you is this prioritization, this task breakdown, this it can get you to your goals faster with less effort, and you don't have to think about it all the time. It's just dealing with it.
Right. Yeah. And you can imagine that there's another bucket, which is health. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
I want to get fit this year.
yeah.
And it's like, and then
It's
you've got
like
all these things that always get in the way.
it's like
It's like,
so, Dave.
at some
Like at
point you
the end of
say,
the year, like you want to do it at the end of the year, or is that best done now?
well, exactly. So in the derived dynamic stack rank of stuff you should do next, um, if you can have the bot churning away and saying, dude, back in January you said you want to get fit. We're now in March and you've done fuck all. Go out and get your ass to a gym or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
but it
the
yeah, but it needs to make it not like breaking it down is like I've looked at all the gyms, I've looked at your daily schedule, and the best option for you is you need to go to this spot right now. It's going to cost you $10. I've checked your bank account, you can afford it. Here's
yeah,
what
yeah.
you
But
know, like
that's sugar over, you need to get your ass out. Could be much more helpful. You need to go on a walk and check the weather. Here's a nice walk to do. You haven't walked it in ages.
mm,
There are
yeah.
geese or something, you can look at.
Um all I
You know,
was trying to do was point out that it seemed like there were some ways to simplify how that model would work. But I guess now that I sit here talking to you and we're both like, yeah, yeah, that sure. But there's also all these other problems. It might be actually that there's so many problems that it's really only makes sense to be able to tackle that type of all encompassing intelligence with at least the help of a functioning agentic platform. And so it might be efficient for us to focus on getting the agentic patterns up because I'll be honest, I know they're there, I know they're many, I know they are fruitful, but I don't really know what one I'd do next or do first. You know, like I think it needs the functions I just laid out to you with the agents, the links, the stacks, the images, but I don't really know what comes after that. Like, I mean, doesn't that sound stupid to you? Like, I don't actually know what I'm gonna do with it.
that's because we're drilling at a mine face and we don't know what we're going to discover. Maybe it's
But
going to be quartz, maybe it's going to be gold. Who
surely
knows?
we would know what the direction is. Um,
I think we've got in our meat brains, we've got a general idea of the direction so we can steer it. The question is active terminal guidance to get something actually really useful.
well, there seems to be obviously this thing helping me make the system itself is an easy one. Helping, so an easy image that I can think of is one that tells you things like what are the system prompts inside of Codex, the Codex CLI. So there would be an image that would represent the latest known commonly asked questions about the Codex CLI tool that was verified against the CLI's code base. So
Well,
you
let
could
me
ask,
tighten let me tighten that up a bit because this is a question I've tried and I didn't get good answers for. Um, I've asked the bots while I was doing this on Saturday. Um, and again, it's that beginner's mind. You don't want any cognitive learning to have to go on before you actually use this thing. So I started off by saying, what can you do? I don't think it was on this thread. I think it was on
right,
another thread.
right, right.
You put your hand up. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, mate. Sorry, I was trying to
All
just
right.
get comfortable.
All right. That was a negligent hand up.
No, I'm very uncomfortable because I found
Negligent discharged.
I was looking for some vacuum cleaner filters, and I found a collection of Easter eggs that had somehow been missed, and I ate them all, and now I feel uncomfortable.
Easter eggs from last year.
I think they were from this year because Easter was,
Well, from previous Easter.
yeah, Easter
Okay.
past.
Yeah. Year. Yeah.
And I might be going to hell for it because that was someone else's Easter eggs, probably a child's
No,
Easter eggs.
you're not
But
probably not going to hell for that one. You go to hell for all the other reasons, but that one you're going to, shitter. I think.
I was just like, I need this right now. Fuck everyone, and I ate them all. So that's why I'm trying to like move around a bit to just
Anyway, so the point being is, and I'm being quite fundamentalist in terms of approach on this one. Is like I approach the blinking cursor, and the very first thing I found myself doing is, what can I do with you?
yeah. So what can I do? Should create a stuck because that's an easy one to say what the problem is. It's like I would like to know what the system does, and then back would come an agent that was purposefully tuned and scoped to tell it about the anatomy of the system and the ins and outs of this and that, and it's got the knowledge base and it's got the source code that it can read into of our system. Plus, it knows how to talk to the codex agent by name, like it's already hard coded that the image called the codex reference agent is where you go to talk about the codex CLI. So it would come with a network of agents that could answer that question quite
Yeah,
exceptionally
because
well, right?
otherwise, I could ask that of any running instance.
Yeah,
You just boot it up. Here's a URL.
yeah,
What can I
yeah,
do with
yeah.
you? What we don't want to do is duplicate if the users
No, right,
ask you what you can
right.
do.
Stuffing all that into like a system prompt or agents.md or passing like the manual of the repo, and then now it has to, like, it might be an agent that's tasked to act like a flying fish, but you're like, what can I do with you? And it's like, well, Article 5.7 of the Dreamcatcher manual says, and you're like, that's not a fish. Like, that's a different question, obviously. So,
Yeah.
I
So
think that the image model solves that problem excellently.
I think it does. And what might be a useful thing for me to do is to be quite rigorous in um, creating a bot, and each time, again, only through NL. Every time I need to remember even the word codex. This sounds stupid, but even remembering the word codex is uh, a cognitive load that is not needed.
Yep.
It should be able to do that. OpenVS server, the actual command line. I don't want to know which fingers to put on which parts of it. I want to just talk to it and say, do that, and be self-aware of, okay, so in order to do that, I need to open up an OpenVS server, and then, yeah, okay, ready. And now that will probably involve looking for images, running instances, getting those instances to talk back. And so that kind of very basic loop seems to be the next thing I should think about, because I've been doing it by hand with this note taker. Previously, I did it almost in thread, not quite in thread, on the stuck loop, and it came up with interesting stuff. So that pattern of the naive user and
Yeah, so that's the question though. Who are we building this for? Like, who's the naive user? Because it's not me, it's not you.
I think it's just a good thing to do,
Why?
because uh, any cognitive load is going to be a barrier to entry regardless of which
Who's trying
area
to
you're at.
enter?
Well, even if it's us. Now, if you extrapolate that down when we've got complex patterns that have got a workflow that have been instantiated in a number of agents, I still want to be able to say, what does that workflow do? what does that agent do without having to? So it's easy at the moment to understand because we can do one, two, three agents. Even I got up to five about I think last week, 5 days ago, something like that. That's easy to understand. Now, 1,000 agents. I want to be able to say, right, okay, let's talk about the meta process here. Is this right? Because the output, if you think about the output as being your plastic pal who's fun to be with, you want to be able to talk to one thing and get that to kick off a whole bunch and find images for you, put up instantiations, all that sort of thing. Above a certain complexity level, it's going to be impossible actually to be able to go in there and make any improvements without being able to ask that meta question. It's like, why did you do that? It would be an alternative question. Why did you
Oh,
do
so
that?
you're saying that whilst we feel like we are not naive now, very quickly the complexity of the system as it fills out and repeats and scales all the pieces that we have designed here, very quickly we will be naive because as soon as we've got like 100 users, uh, we won't know what's going on. So we need to have naive helpers. Like
Well,
that's what you mean?
no, yes, I agree with that. But also, humbly, I would say that we're going to reach that um, kind of problem quite soon when we've got anything more than a fairly simple
All right, but
infrastructure.
so I just laid out an explanation of how I thought the images method using stux as a way to find images solved that problem. Is there something wrong with that approach?
So let me reflect back. So make sure we're in sync. So if you say what is going on with this process, that output wasn't right. Can you explain it to me? The agent that I'm talking to
Yep.
about that will say, no, I can't understand how I'm working. However, I know a bot that does an image, spin up that image, and that image has like a godlike view, and we'll be able to say, right, okay, in that last run, what happened was this was a decision. You went through 50, 60, 100 bots. Here's a summary of what each done. Do you want to dive into each one?
Yeah.
Bit like tracing, right? It's like if you're building anything other than a fairly
Yeah, yeah.
mundane.
So no, but that's again that's a specific. Like I'm getting at that. I think that image model allows arbitrary extension that can.
Oh yes. Sorry, I'm not sure if I said at the point, but yes, it would. The agent doesn't know what it just did, but it does know. I know a guy. I'll call him.
It knows how to call the guy. Yeah, and that seems to be all that we need to do, right? And then that's that problem. That problem's at least solved for us.
It should be.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
should be.
So, who are we building it for? Because we've spoken about naive users, and then we're like, well, we're going to be naive users. Okay, fine. Ease of cognitive load. Well, yeah, that's us too. Who is this platform for? What is this platform called now? We have
Well,
come a long way from Kansas.
yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore. It's not even Dreamcatcher because Dreamcatcher was at its heart contribution and attribution, but that is
Yeah,
just
but
now
it was also
images
Stux, right?
on
Because
this.
then,
Yeah. I guess we could novate the Dreamcatcher name across to this. I like the name, and we've also got a couple of URLs, which is quite handy. Domains. Oh, wow, it is a blast from the past. I remember that. Okay, now this might be a useful exercise
Stux per
as we go
minute,
through
right? So
this.
Stux per minute still applies if that core jack point into the system is by Stux. So,
Right, because problems are gold.
right. Duplicate Stux, which means that we've got an image that satisfactorily supplies what you need, that's good.
Yeah, that still stands.
Jitters, not so much now. It's like agents.
Well, agents are uh, how? Oh, that's an interesting one.
They're just-in-time agents. So instead of
They're just
apps,
in
we just swap
time
the A for
agents,
agent,
and we're kind of so JITAS.
which is what it always was, the acronym. But it's like
Yeah,
saying that it's just-in-time agents instead of just-in-time apps. Because
yeah,
we've said that the natural language wrapper is the application packaging. And so
right,
arbitrary code comes wrapped in an agent where the agent accepts natural language.
right. And we've also said in due course we'll deal with the display, but that's just a response that the agent gives that's not natural language. It's like, show me a map of Edinburgh. It's like you want to see the map of Edinburgh. You don't want it to explain in natural language
That's
back
right. Yeah. So that would just
what it
be,
looks like.
yeah. But in the model, I believe we can do that because it would just fire up a web server, present a
Right,
web based page, redirect your browser to it, or open a new page. And then it's like, there you go.
right. And that would be an example of a service to a map provider, Google Maps saying,
Yep.
show me this map.
Yep.
AGI is the sum of stocks, which leads to open and closed. Uh,
No, which means we were saying that open is greater than closed. I don't know if I'm sure about that anymore, buddy.
I'm torn as well. The reason, okay, so the reason I'm torn with it, see if it's the same as you, is because of the speed of all the other buggers working on this. And it's
No,
like,
that's not what I'm worried about.
no,
What I'm worried about is, again, the implications of crossing the Turing threshold continue to unfurl before us. Previously, when there were only humans as the only form of computer driving intelligences in the world, you needed a lot of humans to come and poke at the system, and that's why open was good, because if you considered the number of humans that had access to a computer as the maximum number of agents that you could have in the system, then open's better because you're fighting. It's a total sum game. Like, there's only so many humans. You need to get their attention at the expense of costing them not having attention on something else. And so open gives you the best chance of getting that attention because it's a scarce, limited resource. In the world of agents run in data centers where you can have a million agents doing 1,000 years worth of work in one day, that's no longer true. And so we can have whole armies of intellects working on our problems and doing user feedback testing, stumbling over this and that. We can basically recreate the population of Earth 100 times, where the intelligence was like 1,000 times and the speed is like 1,000,000 times. And then what have we got? Is open still better? Does it even matter?
um, yeah,
Open's not
that's
the
the
same when you have an army of agents. It really isn't.
well, that's the heart of the matter. Open kind of redefines to your agent swarm.
Yeah. So open means, like, the thing that really sort of whacked me, or like stunned me and made me like be like, whoa, 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 shit, everything's not right, is the notion that it's all heading towards commanders in charge of fleets of AI agents. And as humans, we like to imagine that we're commanders. I mean, I certainly pray that we are, but the the future seems to be held by how well can you manage a team of AI agents. It used to be how well can you manage a team of humans, and that's what made you like a billionaire or just sort of some pleb or a nothing, right? But now, if you can manage and wield the kind of power, like if you can wield a gigawatt worth of AI compute, you are much more powerful than someone who can, control a bunch of humans. And so the future, why I'm saying that stunned me is because it started to say that like the world opens up to us because we're not AI researchers, but we could be with a bunch of if we're just managers and the skill is being a good manager, we can be AI researchers because the bots can do it.
Well, yes, but there is something there. I think it is a phase shift. Previously, open, we were hoping that individual humans are going to, contribute and push the whole thing on, and everyone, you know,
Yeah,
I
because
suspect there's
innovation was
support on the
scarce.
side.
Innovation was scarce, and I know now no longer believe that the innovation we sought can only come from humans. I actually think there's going to be maybe not genuine innovation, but certainly like noticeable or remarkable innovation is going to come from bots. I don't see any reason why we couldn't see actual innovation.
But
I bet you it'll be expensive, but it'll be here.
yeah, the thing is, doing something in isolation is uh, generally not as good as
But we're not
making
in isolation.
alliances.
That's the thing. We're not in isolation if we have these bots that are able to process the entire internet, see everything that's going on in the internet, and then reason amongst themselves over the sum of human knowledge. We're not in
Yeah,
isolation.
no, that's not what's meaning. So if you take someone with a decent set of bots as a nation state, they can make an alliance with another state that has complementary abilities that you haven't done, and it's beneficial both ways. So there is an aspect of open here which is not on the individual level, it's on the network level.
The network level, yeah, yeah.
Alliances.
But alliances doesn't mean open. Like it's not public.
No, it can and it doesn't need to. So you
Uh,
can have the Five Eyes information, intel information. That's kind of peer to peer between five countries. You can have trade deals, um, but you're not talking at that point to because you're quite right. The actual churning is done by agents, but there's still some organization that can be negotiated with. It's like, here, you've
yeah,
got
but it's
all this
almost
stuff.
like, well, it almost becomes foolish to be open. I do hate to say it, but it
Ah,
is
well,
almost foolish
oh,
to be open.
actually, let's sharpen up what we're saying about open. Previously, we were talking about open. It's like, here's the source, here's everything we're doing. Anyone who wants to contribute, go ahead. I think that's dead.
Okay.
Because you could take that, and if you had enough money, run enough agents against it and
Yeah,
wipe it out.
that's right. That's right. That's right. But then,
Um,
yeah. So skipping ahead a few lines, it
mhm.
makes me wonder if. So it still holds true that fairness is the maximum growth rate that can occur. But what's changed is fairness for who and between who. And what it might come to pass is that what we're really talking about is a small group, like let's call it 100 to pick a number, of individuals who are similar to us that uh, have one way or another ended up being pretty good at wielding a large, like in the megawatt range of power for AI agents. And we have agreed that we will honor ambient attribution between us for some higher goal that we have been told by our bots, by our, you know, if a gigawatt of compute tells me I should do something, I am going to pay attention. I am probably going to do it. But between us commanders, we have ambient attribution that keeps us, our animal instincts, aligned.
So in that situation, ambient attribution as an agreed API between different commanders becomes key.
Yeah. The commanders are free because we don't want to be. I mean, if you can control a power station's worth of computing, you don't want to be told by anyone.
Yeah.
But the ambient attribution allows us to form algorithmic alliances for resource acquisition and resource what's the word for it, like realization. So like developing a resource, like if you're like, oh, there's gold in the hills there, we need to get it out. Okay, well, I've been specializing on radar underground mapping equipment. Okay, I've been specializing on robotic separation of minerals in the earth by visual detection, which means we don't need these chemicals. Okay, and it, like it's like a way to rapidly form alliances to get some stuff done. Whereas we had thought that it was more useful for individuals making little tiny contributions. Maybe those little tiny contributions, they don't matter as much as they used to.
I'm not so sure about that, and I'll give my argument. Because inside of each command center, there is a bunch of people making images that can be used, maybe useful, maybe unique in utility, maybe deduped, and so on. And so, ambient attribution, if those were the terms of how you dealt with the other command center,
Right.
and say, let's record, this guy making an agent that nobody thought about, which turns out to be really useful. And we all agree that we'll funnel funds through to that end person, then you still get that fairness, because it really comes down to none of, even the agent agents that are created by agents that are created by agents are created by an agent that someone has created, and it is
No, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with what you say. It's basically like the shortcut is anytime we have to deal with a human, we should use ambient attribution as the means of guaranteeing fairness and all that. Um, but
well, no,
what
I'm
is that?
actually saying I'm saying something more than that. Every time one command center talks to another command center and shares knowledge, then that should be attributed inside of the command
Right.
center. They dispute it however they want,
Yeah,
and they keep
that
all
sounds
inside
cool too.
control.
But what does that mean that our platform is called, and who are we building it for? And where is ambient attribution amongst all that? Like, look at these numbers, man. Like, we rank here now just on what we did. We can hit that global board there for what should be our daily burn. And that's just two of us, right? And yes, we need to turn our intelligence into revenue. Uh, I got no doubt that that'll be, I wouldn't call it trivial, but it's like it's gonna be the easiest money we've ever made if you ignore how hard it was to get to this point.
It's
Right.
like,
And
yeah,
it's gonna be calculated moves. Like it might be starting a public company. It might be raising some funds. It might be trading on the
yeah,
stock market. It might be who knows, right? But it means that the amount of tokens we're going to burn is going to show up on a world map. this world map. And I just wonder, is that advantageous? Should we shut the fuck up? If
Right.
we decide that we should shut the fuck up, who
Uh,
else is dark like us and actually ranks on this global leaderboard and has chosen to shut the fuck up?
well, I don't know how much weight we should give on this leaderboard. It's kind of cool being on a leaderboard, right? Because it's like, hey, we're above, you know, Silly Tavern. I have no idea who Silly Tavern is or what they're doing.
Well,
Um, the that's a vanity metric. This board is kind of cool, right? It's nice and it's a bit free marketing.
yeah,
And
and
so,
then that's really my question, right? Like, do we even care? What's the marketing for? Do we want people to come to our platform and use it?
I don't think so yet. I
Why
think
not?
because we haven't.
Let's assume that it's user friendly, right? Like we solve all these
Mhm,
problems,
mhm.
blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah,
We do
yeah.
still have a very different model from what everyone else is offering, where we're saying like, you don't have a computer, you don't have a desktop, you don't have an app. Every single agent comes as an instance of VS Code, and you as the human jump around, diving in where you want. You improve the system here, improve it there. You point these things at whatever tasks you want. You know, you can burn horrific amounts of tokens and get good results. So let's assume that's there. Do we
Well,
want
what
people to use it?
I mean, what do we value? I personally would value the insights of people using it because utility will ultimately win, and ultimately
Right,
utility is
but
like,
don't we have enough utility from ourselves, and aren't we trying to get a way that the bots themselves are providing the feedback? Like, isn't that more useful as to how the bots try to use the platform and where they get stuck?
well, yes, but again, going back to stocks are gold. I can create a certain amount of stocks, but that is
The bots
bottleneck.
can create stucks too, man.
Yeah, but they need the little bit of sand that creates the
The grit
um,
in the pearl,
yeah. Um, so that grit needs to come from somewhere.
it
They
can
can
come from
create their own
agents.
grit, and they'll
Well,
probably accelerate at that.
yeah, but they can also interact with the world because let's not forget, we can send them out to do tasks like, to pick an obvious example, cold calling. And you're like, hey, ring this guy, convince him to tell you who his friends are. Okay, so that's going to cause grit to appear from an external source. So it's going to be fresh grit. It's not sterile, internal, self perpetuated grit. It's external
Hmm.
grit, right? So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going to happen not from platform use, but from the platform interacting with the world, which I think is very different from like as an operator of the platform. As an operator of the platform, I would hope that we eventually disappear. Like we're actually not that
Mm.
useful in the platform. What's useful is what's it doing interacting with the outside world, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I absolutely agree with that. We're the guys.
All
We're
right.
not
So
primarily engine.
so then we don't actually want users on the platform because what's the point? Like they're just going to cause us kind of a problem. They might uh like are they going to pay us for it? Like maybe, but it's going to be tiny in terms of the amount of money that we could get from intelligent guidance as to how to make money is going to far outstrip the amount of money that we could collect as a commission on usage.
But commission on usage requires as many users as possible, which
I know.
allows us as a platform.
I know, but I'm like, well,
But
the most
sometimes you
money
could
that
just
we
spawn.
make
Sorry.
The most money we make is when we use the AI to tell us how to go into the world and make money.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, and that is best done with a very tight knit group of people because the cohesion between the humans at that level needs to be deep. Like you can't just be like, "Oh, I met this guy on the internet," and then blah blah blah. Like,
That I agree with as well.
yeah. So it really comes down to a tiny, tiny group of people using this platform to make a lot of money very quickly before we get snuffed out by the elephants.
Which would lead dot 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 to, I don't know, number tops dozen people.
Doesn't, right? Like it's a tiny little team. It's like they need to all fit in the same room.
Yeah, and
I
then pick targets, and then if this really is as good as we think it's going to be,
It really comes
there's
down
going
to people we can trust because ambient attribution is not something that we can enforce in terms of there's no legal force to make it be fair to everyone. It's people
to.
that we trust, and then we also need to make it clear that those left in the room will punish those that don't stick to ambient attribution. Like we become an org, like a classic team of like a dozen to 16 people, very tight knit, our own internal rules, a punishment structure, a reward structure, some goals.
So okay, so here's a red team argument. One of the things I'm very keen on is, as you know, the rising and accelerating economy in East Africa, and there are other ones in South America and so on. There's a lot of talented guys out there that may well be able to point this gun at stuff that we wouldn't be able to even discover, because they have local knowledge. They know that, you know, um, for example, I was talking to someone from
So you think
Kenya
it's to do with the number of people that are the number of guns that we can put into the number of hands makes our system stronger.
yeah, but that's different from the number of people who are actually, effectively developing the substrate, which should be very, very small. I mean, we've done quite
Well, the
well,
substrate
although slowly.
development should be very small, but should also disappear. Like it should be
Yeah,
done plus handed over to a bot because that's not. We only make the substrate so that we can use it. We don't make it for its own sake. It's not like I want to be chained to a desk doing blockchain for the rest of my life.
yeah, yeah. And the local differences, I think, is where the value is. Um, give me 2 minutes to explain that. Um, the big oil wells are obvious. The big guys are going after the big oil wells, but there is a huge amount of value about the local small ones that wouldn't be worth them, thinking about. Or if they do think about it, it's like third tier. Let's get a team on that, thinking about that. And by local oil wells, I'm talking about something that is of real value, but only at a local level. And I'll give you an example. In Kenya, it is a local custom when you get an Uber drive for everyone to take a photograph of the car and its number plate before you get into the car. Right now, that's just like a local accepted custom almost. But with a few guys, sitting at the top level, there's no way we'll be able to see that. What we need to do is to push down the utility. We're not talking about the building of the system. Now we're talking about the using of the system. It's like you use the system and you discover those things. Now, whether
Right.
we
Well,
then want to
yeah, but
incentivize to do that.
what's the outcome of that though? Like, are we saying that now you want to have people using the platform, so we need to actually care
Yes.
about being on that leaderboard and being public.
In order to maximize the use of the platform, I think we need to go
Why do
for
we want to
things
maximize the use of the platform?
because that would be, I don't know. I mean, the opposite would be the case. We could delete the platform right now, and there's no utility.
But
So it's
there's
like
yeah,
utility
but there could be
maximization.
just you and me using it, and we can already generate a large amount of usage. We're not even warm. Like in a we should be at 100 times the usage that we were able to spike out in the last week.
So here's our suggestion then. The very fact that we're discussing it basically means this is a stock, right? Um, I think it would be helpful soon, not yet, but really quite soon, to ask in trusted friends, one, two, three, to use it, and we will learn a lot from their usage to improve the platform. Then the second phase would be to deploy the platform to make money. Should be nice, and maybe to raise on it in order to make money. That's fine. The third phase would be to enable the platform to be maximally used.
Why maximally used?
Um, because it would be good to uplift a lot of these. And I'm getting into my personal politics here, but um, this idea of where are all the Leonardos, I'd like to have as many Leonardos using this and doing amazing things, and by using it, we'll make money
Do you think
as
that
possible.
there? Do you think that a human will always have some kind of edge over a super intelligent agent?
I think for the time being, prior to AGI, which has not been properly assembled yet, um, yes, because the grit in the pearl. It's like women don't like to get into an Uber without having texted their friend what the number plate is. It's like, okay, there's going to be many, many others, over the next, you know, well, there's always going to be over hundreds of years. There's going to be nuances like that it would be. The AGI
All
is
right. Well,
going to.
yeah, I feel like I get what you mean, but it doesn't change what we do. Like, it sounds like it's now been pushed out to a later step to make this thing publicly consumable. Like, it feels like this is a tool that we use internally amongst us and trusted friends for, for some time. It's almost like having a bunker, and when the nuke goes off, which is the explosion of AI, we think we're safe, but we can't hold everyone.
And that phase three is, when all the dust settles,
When the dust
we come
settles,
up,
right?
we
Yeah,
see
so I guess
survivors.
that's a good way to think about it. Has our mode changed to being like we are going to attempt to survive to be post AGI, and then we're gonna come out swinging as a mammal on a newly barren planet?
It seems scary to say so, but yeah, because AGI is coming down the roads now. Who
And
knows
we think
when?
we can contain it, you and
Um,
me.
we think we can uh, point it at something that we want done as opposed to something it wants done.
Are we building an AI bunker?
Feels a bit like that, doesn't it?
I'm just
Um,
like I'm very happy to run the proposition through the machine and burn a lot of tokens on it, but it suddenly feels like the machine is no longer for general use, it is for us.
I think what I would add to that is I think we need to start thinking about rough phases, because if it's only us, then um, sure, maybe this, we get an agentic system that goes up and finds problems, solves them, boom, boom, boom. We sit fat and happy on a beach. But um, at the bottom of attribution, I've always wanted, and I think you're the same, I know you're the same, to kind of right the wrongs of those, corporate bastards sitting in boardrooms thinking they're smart, making wrong decisions and fucking everything up for everyone else. And it seems that the best way to do it is to distribute whatever is left of human intelligence into a big machine where there effectively are no companies. There are, you know, just-in-time services and so on.
So
Now,
you
that
want
is quite,
the platform to ultimately be a place to house the displaced.
yeah, I want to even out the information gradient because that is just colonialism. And
But if we're saying that a lot of what those companies stood for and did can be replaced by these AI systems anyway, why would we care to right the wrongs if we just exterminated all of the class of people that did the wrongs?
isn't that righting the wrong? Okay, so it's an extreme version, you know, everyone has done wrong. We'll take you around the back and, shoot you in the head.
Well,
I'll be okay.
you're
I'll
out of
be
a
okay with
job.
that.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
you're out of a job because the wrong was that you shouldn't have. The job was unnecessary. That's the wrong.
yeah. And the wrong is in the idea that the top down, and this is the irony of the whole kind of communist in the West argument, is like centralization is wrong, and yet somehow in a 400 billion business, it's still centralized. It's like no, and it's also unevenly distributed.
Mm,
So this is not an argument for what's best for us, as in how to
yeah,
maximize what money, but
I don't. I
this is
just. It sounds like I want to maximize money. I don't. I want to maximize value. Like money is part of that. We need fuel, right? Like these things, we need a lot of. We should be able to burn like I don't know $5,000 a day worth of frontier tokens, and we should be able to sustain that to pursue our goals. Now that requires a significant income, like a big income. But my point, I guess, is to say, well, it's starting to feel more and more like, at the very least, we should stay dark and ask the question to the bots: what are we doing? What's the platform for? What's the best path? Here's everything we know. And we should spend like, I don't know, maybe $20,000 worth of tokens would be a good burn to actually answer those questions. Because that's like, the answer to that is like everything to us,
yeah,
right?
and um, I think that's right for the answer to the question what's next. So I think we lock that off. I agree.
Yeah.
Um, the a suggestion, which we'll put into the bots, is next we open up to trusted people in order to stress test the thing.
Mm.
Um, Now, the third piece is far more woolly, but ideologically, that's a terrible word, but essentially that's what I'm saying is I'm very strongly motivated to even out uh, the knowledge gradient or the power gradient across as many people as possible, and I don't know how to do that yet. But that's kind of what ambient attribution was there to do. But it's kind of all changed now because now we're not talking
It's
about people.
changed,
We're
dude.
talking about for one person there are 1,000 bots. It's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know yet.
it's changed,
Don't
and
know yet.
I'm sorry to say it. I don't think I feel that way about evening the gradients around the world because, for starters, most people they don't want that gradient leveled, even if they're the negative beneficiary or even if they're oppressed by it. They don't want it changed, and so it's
Yeah, but
effort to push it upon them.
it's the smart people though. It's not everyone, because 98% of people we couldn't even explain this
So
system in
you
any
would
way.
you would take anyone.
I would take anyone from anywhere so long as they contributed something
But there's
interesting
some problem
and
that we
useful.
have where, like, you could come into our fold, learn these skills, learn these things, and then decide to leave and not honor ambient attribution. And the power that you could take with you would be immense. It used to be you'd just take your own brain and you left. Okay, I'm going to go play somewhere else. Fine. Now it's like, I'm going to go play somewhere else, and with money, I can buy more brains now for the first time. And I'm going to go do this other thing. I'm going to basically steal from you in a way that you can't enforce, and I'm going to run off. You see what I mean?
I do, and I don't have a good answer to it,
I have a
except
partial answer. I have a not great answer.
okay.
In that video from OpenAI, they talk about a lot about the privacy of people's data. How, like, having this full context awareness is sort of something that they want to pursue. It's like that's sort of what we want to pursue, right? You know, like
Yeah,
it's a dangerous game what you and I play because we talk about wanting to do the things that OpenAI talks about wanting to do, which is not
yeah.
really the smartest of things necessarily. But this confidential computing thing is, I believe, going to be massive because it's going to be the only way that you're going to do AI training. And so, one of the ways around this problem is to make the entire Dreamcatcher operation be confidential from everyone, because that
Okay.
would protect it from people coming in, seeing what's going on, cloning it, running off, and now draining resources from what the Dreamcatcher could capture, because now someone else is capturing a similar thing but not paying ambient attribution. But if you made the whole thing confidential, even from us, and it was actually only a bot on the inside knew what was going on and directed things, that solves that problem. So you
Maybe
can't
that's the end point then.
you can't ever capture the dream catcher because no one can. Like, you would have to breach confidential computing and a bunch of other things to be able to even take from it. The
So
the,
it
the reason I think
follows.
the core thing I'm trying to say is that it feels like the Dreamcatcher is stealable now because of the fact that you can turn on brains with GPUs now, whereas before you had to convince humans, and humans came with morals, and they came with fairness, and they came with slowness, and they came with limitations, and they came with, like, speed restrictions and all these things that made it not really plausible. But now, if you took it and just had, like, some spare cash, like, not even a lot of cash, like maybe a half mil sitting around, you could recreate the Dreamcatcher in a superior way and taint it, twist it, turn it in on itself to re-engineer parts of itself to be different. You could take the knowledge that it had built up, the output of the tokens that would mind away to find the best answers and distill down the best knowledge, you could take that. And so because the Dreamcatcher becomes stealable, because it has things that you can take now, the openness is dangerous. And right?
So it let me think. There's a phase transition then that when Dreamcatcher and everything we've been talking about are protected by Cocos, that's the point where we can allow people who have the inclination and talent to use it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
use it.
yeah. Because you can't abuse it, and you can't not stick to ambient attribution because it's hidden from everyone,
Right,
and
and
it feels
it
weird to
wouldn't be a
say that.
stretch. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that we could put other cocoa protected agents up to give some insight into decision making. It's like, you know, ambient attribution paid me less than I was thinking. I disagree, and it goes and so on. But the leap of faith there is that inside the black box, nothing weird is happening.
Oh, right, but I didn't mean that. Like, it doesn't mean that parts of the Dreamcatcher can't be transparent. It just means that things like the internal knowledge base, the sum of all knowledge according to the Dreamcatcher, the inner workings of how a lot of the agents are prompted, these things, they can be confidential now.
And by confidential, we're not saying untransparent, we're just saying unstealable.
Un Unviewable. Like, you can't. So one of the ways that you could think of a product packaging of what we've been talking about with Cocos is that you could think of us as vending a confidential database where it's like we'll sell you a database that we can guarantee you that only you know what's on there, and only you, like, the computation can be unknown to everyone. Like, it can be purposefully completely private. Or the flip side is it can be completely verified and you can release it at some later date. Like, it's not really like, you have a lot of options.
So would it be possible, because trust is the important point. You've got a black box, you just
Mm,
trust in the perimeters of the black box.
right.
But then it's like, yeah, I'm getting paid by this black box, and I've disagreed, and it's like said no, that's actually what it was worth,
Yeah, so you could
and so
open
on.
up that part, like the reasoning about, what you did. You could just make it that, like,
You could open up for anyone to build their own test runs, and
yeah.
probe it and test the thing as much as you want.
Yeah. But anyway, that's I think
Yeah,
that's all that I wanted to cover, really.
yes. Sorry, I don't have a clear,
You see the problem though, right?
clear.
So the question is, what do
Yeah,
we
I
call
do.
the platform, and what is the purpose of the platform? We know for sure that we're building it for us, and we know for sure that the first thing for it to do is to, first of all, collate all of our past efforts that we've put into one place. So distill down our knowledge into a canonical form. Then, secondly, its purpose is to process that and tell us what's the best thing to do next. Should we open source, not open source, closed source? Where's, you know? Then
Yeah,
we've got our personal angles, which is like, hey, how do we make money, or how do we do this or that? And so that all seems clear. Like, those seem inevitable, but the answers from that become something different. So I don't know what to call our platform now. I think we're only building it for you and me.
yeah.
That's
And
that's
I think that's phase one. The question is, what's, if any, are phase two or phase three? But
yeah.
until we get phase one, we're not being well advised.
No, right? Okay. So the goal is get well advised.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta go, but I'll leave you with one more thought.
Mhm.
The price of Grok 4 fast is about 10% the price of, no, 5% the price of what we're using for GPT-5. Okay. And so
Mm.
I wonder if there's some relationship between, like, if I ran 10 versions of Grok 4 fast and then collated the answers, do you think that would rank the same, better, or worse than if I ran, say, two versions of GPT-5? Or
Well,
even, to put it in a different way, if I ran
mm.
10 versions of Grok 4 and 10 versions of GPT-5, would they actually saturate the solution space? Because maybe the question was actually saturatable.
You're talking about conversions. Um, if you ask a question of 10 people and variance is too high, ask 100. Variance is
Right.
lower,
Yeah.
ask 10,000.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then, like, you can have heuristics where if the variance is too high, you're like, okay, I'm going to ask GPT-5 Pro,
Right,
right? You're like,
right.
high, but a lot of the problems that we face that we want the bots to answer for us, I believe, are convergible problems. And so in that case, what matters more is having multiple runs with, like, high temperature settings so that they're sort of being a bit more novel. That matters more than having a single high quality model doing it once.
Yeah, but there's a cutoff here, isn't there? Because run the same question on multiple models. I mean, we're talking about Monte Carlo here, right? So
Mm,
in Monte Carlo,
yeah,
what you're looking for is convergence. What you don't want is divergence.
right.
So the divergence is like, okay, we need to, swap out one model for a more expensive model, or run it on the more expensive models and we'll run it again and see if we get conversions. So you're looking for conversions, and conversions is something that AIs do really quite well.
Mm,
It's like how close is that answer to this one semantically, not
mm. Yeah, yeah.
by token,
No, yeah.
and it gives a confidence level. In fact, I've seen it dropping to confidence levels. So I think we're probably in line with what the models are doing. Um, there have been a few papers that I've read. I can see if I can dig them out again. I've got them in my stack. Um, that agree with your statement there, in that it's not always the best idea to run the highest one-shot model, and
Right.
in certain areas. I mean, you get this with the router on OpenAI, right? But also they're talking about you can get lower, um, less sophisticated models to check the outputs in terms of how do you tell whether you're getting convergence or divergence. It's like, okay, so
Yeah.
if you're not asking the lower model, less sensitive model to actually run it, it's like, does that make sense? And so you can give the confidence level. So there's people working on this right now on
Mm.
exactly what it's saying. Running the best model doesn't make sense, and it probably will never make sense. Uh, Even in the world of AGI, you don't want you know to use your frontal cortex to move your finger. It's like
Yeah, that's a good point, eh?
another another part of my brain's doing that. No, it's
That's
still my
right.
brain doing it, but so that model I think holds water.
All right, I'll stop recording, eh?
Yeah, cool.